excited to be joined with Keandra and Samantha and Stella and Selena and myself. We are all amazingly brilliant, wonderful women who are spiritual and soulful entrepreneurs. We have many things in common. We are definitely part of a sisterhood. All of these women have been working with me for several years, working on building their purpose-driven lives and businesses and philanthropic projects in the world. And they're all so beautiful inside and out. And so I thought it would be beautiful to spend a little time with them today to hear from them, not just from me, about what it takes to start a purpose-driven business and, you know, the reality of it, the highs and the lows. Because as I've told all of them, they all work with me intimately. And I tell them every day, like, look, you know, nothing's guaranteed. You cannot be in this because you think you're going to know what's going to happen. You have to be in it because you want to be in it. And if you weren't doing this, you wouldn't be doing anything else. So because each and every day you have to get up and keep pushing forward and keep doing the valuable work in the world. So today I'm so excited to be joined with all the ladies. So what I want to do is real quickly just hop around. I'll unmute you guys, but if you could just take a minute or two, say who you are, maybe where you're from, what you do, you know, anything that's alive for you that you'd like to share today. So I'm going to start with you, Keandra.
Hello. I am Keandra Doss, and I'm from Oakland originally, but have been living here in Los Angeles for about 14 years now. But I am now a full-time lifestyle and career coach, and I work with women who are primarily in a space of transition, whether they are realizing that they need to take better care of themselves, but they also are ready to transition into a place of more significance, doing more purpose-related type work, and they're also soulful and spiritual. And so I could just go on and on and on, but that's like the basic, quick introduction of me and the work I do.
And can you tell the people watching, you know, how long have you been at entrepreneurship? What stage in the journey are you at? You know, maybe what you were doing prior that you transitioned, or how long you've been, are you a full-time entrepreneur? Are you a part-time entrepreneur? Are you working a 9-to-5? Or are you to all of that good stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually did get started. I'm also a Superfly alumni. So technically I did get certified and started while I was still in my 9-to-5. It's now been about, I'd say, a year and a half that I've been full-time. But I got started while I was still in my 9-to-5. And there was definitely, moments when I knew like, okay, this season is going to be coming to an end. Let me do what I need to do to prepare myself, even though at the time there weren't a lot of external circumstances and evidence that was really showing me, but I just really felt it. And then as I was taking those steps forward to really prepare myself, getting more serious with my business, starting to put it out there, gradually that, this is what I'm feeling called to do, more of my own personal life and sharing that, then things just really did start to unfold and was like, okay, this is why, I was feeling those nudges. And so, like I said, it's been about a year and a half. I did get started with, being able to work with other mentors. So I didn't completely, jump full time into doing it all on my own. I really did have an opportunity to work with others who were in similar industry and did similar work. And so through that, I really, got a chance to get really just, I guess, like a boot camp of what it's like, to do this. So it's been an incredible ride. It has been challenging. It's not for the faint of heart, but I literally just shared with some friends yesterday that I would not be wanting to do anything else. I was working with a client and it was just an amazing session and it just felt so right and aligned, and I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So
yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I love that feeling of when you're doing something and it feels so aligned and you feel so alive inside and you just feel excited, because all of us need to pay the bills, you know? And so as I always teach, you know, if you're just starting off, I would prefer that you're working some sort of job to support yourself financially so that you don't have the pressure on your startup business to be making the money. Because if you don't have the money pressure, then you can just focus on finding the work that you love. And when you do find it, and whether you're getting paid or not, of course, it's great to start getting paid, and we want our ladies to make money. You know, it's like you're getting paid in that joy, you're getting paid in that affirmation of knowing that you're on track and you're on purpose and all of that great stuff. And it's been such a joy to get to sort of watch that journey with you over the last couple of years of working with you and having you be a leader in our community. So I'm excited to hear more about that. I'm going to go to Samantha now. And ladies, and anybody who's watching this at any time, you know, if you have questions, if you have comments, please let us know. We definitely want to provide any information that would be valuable for you on your journey. Samantha?
Hey everyone. Hey Celia. So I am Samantha Calanita, and I am originally from New York, Long Island, what. So if you hear that come out in my accent, that's where it's from. But I now very happily live in Savannah, Georgia. And that was actually part of me starting my business and really restarting my life in a more purposeful way. So I am a life and career coach, but what I really like to say is that I am a soul purpose coach. That means to me, very simply, I help women to find and discover their true purpose and path. And then we take really simple and strategic action steps to align their lives and their careers with that purpose. And I always like to tell people sometimes that means you express your career and your purpose in your career, just like I do as a coach. Sometimes your purpose is expressed in your family, in your self-care, in your hobbies. It doesn't have to be in your career, but I have to say I really love that mine is. And let's see, I've been an entrepreneur for about 2 years. I'm in my second year of business. So I kind of feel like I'm a sophomore. I'm in my sophomore year of business, and I'm like out of that freaky freshman stage where you're constantly making mistakes. But that was really good for me building my resiliency, learning how to fail, and as Celia says, fail and fail fast so you can get back up and get moving. That was definitely a lesson I took from my first year of business. And I did the one thing Celia advises us not to do. I quit my job and became an entrepreneur full-time. I did, however, have about 6 months' salary saved up. I have a partner to help support my household. And I was moving to an area of the country with a much lower cost of living. So for me, it made it really possible to do what I wanted to do, which was to take this big risk and start my coaching practice. And I went in full force. I told Celia in my first year of business, I did, I think, over 300 hours of coaching, something bananas like that. And it really, the best way to become an entrepreneur is to do the work, to be in business and practice, practice, practice.
You got to unmute yourself. It's so good. And I just want to say most of these ladies have begun their journey working with me years ago. And so when you're watching them and hearing them talk, and even myself, the goal is I want to show you where you can get to, and like where if you're at an earlier stage, to have somebody to look to that's maybe a step ahead of you. Because sometimes when I present or when I speak, I feel like I want to make sure that you don't feel like there's such a large gap between me and where you're at. And these are the ladies who are a few steps ahead of you on the journey. So I thought it was really important that you get a chance to hear from them, to see role models of what success looks like on different ways, you know, what soulful success looks like, because it's not just based on external factors of money and accomplishment, but also what is possible for you in terms of the steps ahead of you on the journey. And so in Samantha's case, she's somebody who has been studying with me nonstop for 2 years now and has invested highly in her business, you know, development and education. And then also took everything that she learned and hit the ground and just, like she said, basically made it her full-time job and each and every day was applying everything that she learned. So that 300 hours of client sessions was because she was hustling and because she was hungry. And what I teach is you got to start with one client. You know, we get really bogged down and I got to have the website and I got to have the brand and I got to have this and it's got to be perfect and I got to, you know, get it all lined up and then I'm going to put it out in the world. And like I usually say, you know, if you have a product, that you can offer that somebody needs, and you have a link that they can, click on to pay you, then you got a business. You're ready to go. So all you got to do is get out there, not be afraid, go to mixers, go to networking events, create some of your own, send emails to people in your community and say, I'm open for business. This is what I do. If you're interested, hop on a call with me, or, send me an email. Let's get more information. And then from there, if it's a fit, if you're filling a demand, if there's a strong need for what it is that you want to create and deliver to the world, you will start to begin to get clients. And you'll begin with one, and then you'll get two, and then you'll get three. And that's where you get your experience from. So you can't, wait until you're ready. You have to launch before you're ready. You have to get out there now, in baby steps, and part of it is also managing your expectations, because, and maybe that's something you guys can remind me to come back to, is like, how do you manage your expectations? How do you work with your mindset? Because we certainly are programmed that it's like, oh, I started a business and I got a website and now I'm supposed to be making 6 figures this year, right? And so that's why I'm going to leave my job, or, that's why I'm going to put all of my savings into growing my business in my first year before I've even seen if anybody wants what I have to offer. And that's why in the beginning, you want to take those slow steps in moving forward and getting that feedback, so that you can keep iterating and evolving what it is that you offer to make sure that people actually want it. And then from there, you'll start making more and more sales as you grow. All right. So let me go to Celia.
Hi. So I'm Selena. I can't hear you, Celia.
I muted myself so I could hear you.
Okay. I'm Selena, and Selena Davis, and I'm working with special needs moms and building community, also with caregivers, women, girls. So I am, I'll say I'm maybe an honorary freshman in the game. So what I'm doing is building business and seeking out people who would resonate with me, who need my love, support, help. I am really full-time 6 months, 7 months into the business. I have been preparing, building a foundation for about 2 years, and probably a little bit before that, but consistently 2 years I stopped working my full-time 17-year position with a local government agency here in Riverside County. I stopped working for them about 7 months ago, 8 months ago, and I called it reset. Some people call it retirement. I called it reset because I didn't retire. I just moved into a position where I can help in a different way. I was helping before, but now I'm able to help directly and not indirectly.
Awesome. And I want to get more into the amazing work that you're doing. And I know we're getting ready to do our own one-on-one interview for the Real Women, Real Conversations series. So that'll be exciting. And everybody who's watching this, look out for the interview coming with Selena, and also Samantha and Stella are going to be, we're recording those interviews coming up in the weeks to come. Like I said, I'm bringing all of these ladies, and I'm going to come to you next, Stella, if you're available. I know Stella's an example of someone who is working her 9 to 5 and happy where she's at, and building what we call a side hustle, her small purpose-driven business on the side, and building it as she goes. So I'm going to come to Stella next, but just wanted to say, again, I'm bringing all of these ladies to you to really show you the diversity of what's out there, that there's not a one-size-fits-all model, that, all of these women have worked with me, and they've all followed the same process, and they've all, sort of stepped into the methodology and lived the life, and they've all seen amazing transformation, but their outcomes and their directions and everything that's happening for them are very different. for multiple reasons. And so you have to be, as you start a business, be reasonable and aware of who you are, where you're at, what your circumstances are, what the demands of your life are, what stage you're at, what pace you're at, what's going on with your health. And all of these ladies have ended up being leaders within the Superfly program, as well as the Soulful Coaching Academy. Many of them are starting to step into staff roles in my company, and we're starting to collaborate and do partnerships and do events together and all this cool stuff. And so just, again, wanting to show you what's possible for you. If you feel like, oh my God, I'm just starting off, but I want to be where they are, or I'm just starting off, but I want to be where Celia is, all of that is totally possible. And if you can craft a vision of what you want for yourself, you will be able to get there. But you also have to realize that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so be happy where you're at now and take those aligned steps on your way. And as we all know and practice ourselves, and I teach, is it's all about those self-care, spiritual and soulful practices on a daily basis, because that is what's going to reconnect us with our why. Why are we on the planet? Like, why does my life matter? Why do people need me? What can I do in the world? How can I serve? These are the questions that we should be reevaluating on a daily basis to go like, oh yeah, that's my why. Oh yeah, like, if I do nothing, this is what matters to me. And each and every day, if you're going to build a business, whether it's a part-time business, a full-time business, or a nonprofit, or write a book, or create social services, whatever it is that you're going to create, it has to come from a purpose and passion-driven place in order for you to sustain the momentum that it's going to require to endure. You're doing something really brave. You're doing something that the majority of people have never even taken a risk on themselves like this, have never stepped out of the status quo to say, I'm going to do something different and take a chance that I'm going to fail. And so, just reminding you, part of how you're going to be able to sustain yourself through the inevitable mindset sort of, stuff that's going to come up along the way is for you to each and every day say, I am the center of my universe. I am worthy. I love myself. I honor myself. I cherish myself. And I am going to connect into my meaning and purpose and value in this day, in this lifetime. And that is going to be where I'm going to lead from. That is going to be how I'm going to step out intentional living in my life. Okay, Stella, I'm coming to you. Stella Bella, if you're available, let's see, I'm going to unmute you. I'm trying to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
I just did. Hi, ladies. Hi, my name is Stella Belgard Scranton, and I work my 9 to 5 in civil service and local government. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and I have been involved with soulful coaching for about the last 3 to 5 years. I focus on the working woman. So whether she works 9 to 5, she owns her own business, and I help her reconnect with herself, practicing self-care and bringing balance to her own life and work-life balance. I also provide retreats for women locally and internationally. And I love what I do working-wise, my 9 to 5, as well as I love working in the coaching part.
I got myself muted, so I got to take a second to get back to me. Stella, well, first of all, I love hearing you say what you do, because I know we've been working on that for a few years now, and it comes off so eloquently and polished. So, for those who are watching, this is an example of, being visible. Part of what I've created with the Superfly community is the goal is that as we create these purpose-driven projects and businesses and coaching programs and retreats and everything, that we're doing it in a collective way, that we're working together, that we're supporting each other, that we're rising up together. And so part of that is creating opportunities to be seen and be visible. And so doing this interview with these ladies was really important to me, because they're the ones that have been putting in the hours and doing the work and facing the demons and overcoming them. And it's important that they be seen and honored and valued and loved for who they are and the amazing work that they're doing in the world. And so, Stella, I'm excited to hear you talk about what you're doing. And I think one thing that we need to say is also you're a master connector and networker. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. So like, because I am, I guess, connected soulfully, I like to get involved and I network with people. So I help people bridge gaps and network and help them connect the dots, because often people don't meet. And so like I am like, as Celia likes to call it, a master connector, whereas I listen to the need and I connect those people together. And it helps build like amazing collaborations and alliances for everyone.
Absolutely. And did you also say that about your healing arts work that you do? Because I know there's a lot of the women or people that may eventually watch this that are also coming from a spiritual or healing arts background. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So as far as in healing, I have been a massage therapist for over 15 years. And so I use a lot of intuition, and I'm also a Reiki practitioner. And so I do a lot of intuitive work, and I'm a big energy healer and connector. So if my intuition and my energy does not connect often, I don't connect with the person. However, I usually can vibe and see what personalities may connect and build them and work together with them.
Amen, sister. So I'm going to meet you. As you guys are watching this, if you're watching this live, can you please let us know in the comments any questions that you have for the ladies, anything that they've said so far that you feel is validating or is an aha for you, or something that is exactly what you needed to hear, or any questions you have about their journey, or any questions that's related to you specifically, so that we can make sure that we're addressing that. I do want to say also, obviously, or not obviously, but it's obvious to me that Selena is also a very spiritual and soulful practitioner as well. And she comes from or she has a priestess and crystal healing, and is working on her angel and tarot card readings. And so, and I know that Samantha also does Reiki, and I know that Keandra, her work is very spiritual and deeply healing. So, you know, part of also presenting all of us to you is to say, we want to represent what a new paradigm of women leadership and business looks like. Like, this is what the new wave of female entrepreneurship is about. It's not about setting ourselves up to follow the paradigm or the model that was already constructed before us, because that's the model that put us into 9-to-5, you know, corporate work, and said we're supposed to sit there and spend the rest of our lives doing work that, you know, is killing us inside. And then if you take the leap of faith into business and follow the old paradigm, it's supposed to be that you work, and, you know, become a workaholic, and, you know, you're driven by money, and you're driven by achievement and accomplishment and titles and your resume. And, you know, all of it is external. It's all about, you know, showing the world how successful you are and how much money you make. And again, we're not saying here, we don't want you to be successful, that we don't want you to have amazing, you know, public visible achievements, and that we don't want you to make a lot of money. We do, but we believe that you can do that in a soulful, spiritually aligned way, and that it's integral as women that we represent this, because we're looking to change the paradigm on the planet. We're looking to make that impact on the planet of women, at least women initially, starting to realize, like, wow, I can do things differently. I can do things where I'm in touch with how do I feel in my body? What happened to me when I was younger is the trauma that maybe is still living in me that needs to be released. And how do I do that? And, you know, how do I pay attention to when I'm in overwhelm or stressed out and anxiety, and how can I heal myself, right? There's all of this medicine, ancient wisdom available to us that has been intentionally been kept from us. And we have been told as women to basically be men, and then been suffering all along with it, because we're like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't working for me. And the reality is, it's not working for men either. So it's not like they're thriving and loving, you know, that paradigm. They're actually, you know, getting burnt out. They're getting divorced. They're overweight. They're having heart attacks, all of that stuff. And so we're here to represent a new model, and a model of connection, of collectivity, of diversity, of international perspective, of holistic living and intentional living. So I'm so grateful that you guys are here. I'm just thinking of the best way to do this because I want to use our time the best way that we can. I'm going to try to do at least a couple, maybe 2 more rounds of you guys. So if when we go this time around, if you guys have done great, but if we can keep it still a little bit on the briefer side, can you talk a little bit about sort of the mindset stuff that comes up as an entrepreneur? Maybe the negative thinking or like what is unique to you? Like, what do you struggle with? What have been sort of your darker aspects of this journey for you? And what are the tools and tips and maybe techniques that you use that help you so that those listening in who maybe are going through the same thing, whether they're starting to think about becoming an entrepreneur or are an entrepreneur, let's give them some tangible takeaways that they can do right now in their life. So coming to you, Keandra.
Wow. Gosh, there's so much. I remember when I was still a corporate HR manager and I hosted my very first event. And I remember how scared I felt because it was really the first thing that I was doing that showed, this other side of me and a different part of my identity that was really my soul, but I had just become an expert at living this compartmentalized life, like a lot of women do. And I just remember being so scared, and that fear and this constant like, oh my goodness, there's this vulnerability. I'm taking off another layer of the mask. I'm taking off another layer of, this part of the familiarity that I even had with myself that other people have with me. And so it is constant of being able to have the courage to surrender and just be like, this is who I am, and express who I am in my authenticity, and allowing that to really be led and people can feel me, with the work that I do. So it happens, all the time. Like I would say at this point from that event, that was 3 years ago. And I've absolutely have made, so many more strides, but it is constant of having to keep my mindset and keeping my self-care and feeding and nourishing my spirit to where I'll be able to step up and trust that if I'm faithful over these few things, then the larger things will come. But it's just going through those moments of like, okay, this is another moment of sharing my truth. It always feels, a little bit scary. So it's just constant self-care, constant soul care, listening to constant, like messages and church services. Like I feed my spirit all day, all the time. Like, and I feel like it's more so necessary now because of this work that I'm doing. It's lifeline.
Can you share a little bit about your most recent excitement, sort of the journey of doing the interview with me and how you're feeling so nervous, and as an example of like being courageous and what can come from, being vulnerable and sharing stuff that maybe you hadn't before?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a month ago, I also got an opportunity to be one of the Real Women, Real Conversations with Celia. And it was probably a few days before we did that interview. And I just had a moment of like, you know what, F this, I'm just going to be myself, because I was kind of used to just, whenever I'm in presentations or whatever, there's a particular polished, way that I was used to and trained to do presentations and interviews and all of that. And even again, just kind of going back to just my own personal fears of, okay, I'm revealing myself, I'm showing my truth. Are people going to reject me? Are my family going to be pissed off at me? What's going to happen? And I apologize, there's a little bit of maintenance going on in the background. But all that to say, when I did this interview with Celia, I allowed myself to just be like, you know what, whatever. And it was still and is still my most vulnerable and real interview to date. And all of it out of the blue, I literally ended up getting a consult with someone who saw that interview, and she is now a client of mine. And that moment of just being like, whatever, it then led me to host my first virtual retreat. I've been hosting retreats for a while, but I was ready to, connect with people in a different way who aren't just here, locally, and just hosted that this past weekend. And that was also a success. So it literally just that vulnerability and getting that feedback of like, okay, your rawness, your realness, it does meet people where they are. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this masses, but as long as it's just that one person, then it's totally worth it. And so that has been feeding me of like, okay, just do you, be you. People are.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that because, like I said, I've known Keandra for a few years now, and we've been working together. And I knew from the minute that I met you, I was like, this girl has what it takes. But you do, on the spectrum, tend to be more guarded and polished, which is good. Being polished is great, but sometimes in business, people, feel like a disconnect when you're too polished, right? And so part of what we're trying to bring forth out of our Superfly community is, again, sort of a new version of what a female entrepreneur can look like, of like, I am smart and I am talented and I am polished and I do have it together, but also I am a real woman. And that's why I created that series, Real Women, Real Conversations, where, and if you're like, what is this Real Women, Real Conversations series she's talking about? Go to my YouTube page, just look up Celia Ward-Wallace, find the YouTube page, and of course subscribe. But when you're up there, there's a playlist and it says Real Women, Real Conversations, and we have some amazing interviews that are up there and more that are going to keep coming. And I think it's going to be probably a series that I'll just keep doing indefinitely because I've received such great response from it and the reason that it was created was because I really just I feel like we're sort of in this time where there's two different models or two different paradigms that are butting up against each other. And when people are starting to think about finding their purpose or starting a business or becoming a coach or whatever, they're seeing the two different versions. And I think that some people are drawn to the super polished package. This looks legit. This looks so professional. It looks like there's not even a person. It's just a business and there's a certification and I'm signing up for that. And then other people are like, I need a connection. Like, I need to feel like I know who these people are. I need to feel like this person has been through something, is not just like this perfect version of what they think I want to be. And so that's what we've been trying to put forth is really, yes, we need to, cross our T's and dot our I's and have our shit together and be good at what we do and practice our craft and get training and keep going. But we also have to show who we are and say, you know what, I had this happen when I was a kid. I was molested, or, I had a failure where I lost $1 million, or, my dad abandoned me, or whatever. Because the more that we tell those stories, the more that everybody goes, oh crap, me too. Oh, me too. And I'm saying me too is a very good hashtag that was created 10 years ago. But it's effective because what's true is that it's about identifying with something, and it's about me saying I can resonate with that because I've been through it. So I'm very excited about the interview series, but in particular with you, Keandra, I had actually a lot of people reply to me and say, wow, that's the most like vulnerable I've seen her be here. That's the most like, like I feel like I actually really got to know her. And then I remember afterwards you had a little bit of a vulnerability hangover of like, oh my God, like I'm sort of nervous. It hasn't gone live yet. We talked about some things like about my family and my childhood and my dad. And I don't know how my family is going to feel about that. And then for you and I think it's still so far the #1 watched video of that series. And so for you to say, guess what? This woman in the Ivory Coast in Africa saw the video and contacted me, and now she's a client that, I booked a client with her. Like, that's amazing. And that just is such strong affirmation for the kind of work that we're doing is resonating. And I'll talk more as we go forward. If you're with me in any of the other trainings or any of the other programs with me, we talk a lot about resonance, which is an important concept. It's also something that Lindsay Para, one of my mentors and friends, talks a lot about and teaches, and she teaches also in the Superfly program about resonance as a key indicator to aligning to your soul client. So we'll get more into that in another time, but I just wanted to say I'm really excited, Keandra, for the success of that interview and the impact that it's had just in such a short period of time already. Okay, coming to you, Samantha, getting back to the conversation at hand around the mindset. What is the work that you have to do on a day-to-day basis? What does sort of darkness and overwhelm look like for you?
Okay, well, if you might have seen me taking some notes, I am a serious note taker. I love my lists. Rarely do I use them, but they make me feel supported. So I have a list here for you guys. So two really common and recent thoughts that I have been having that are limiting beliefs are I'm responsible for my client's transformation, and if they don't get it, it means I'm a bad coach. Not true, but it creeps in. And then the other one is, am I worth it? Like, did that client get anything out of that session? Was it worth the money they just paid for me? Especially if I raised my prices? And so those are two that have been creeping in. And honestly, mindset work is a daily practice. And so there are daily practices I do to help combat those limiting beliefs and to ground myself in my purpose and that I am worthy. I'm worthy just because I'm here. Because I showed up today, because I was born, I am worthy and I am worth every cent someone pays to work with me for that hour. But so here are a couple things I will do. I imagine a lot of you guys out there have a gratitude practice, and if you don't, start one. It's massively amazing. It will change your life just by saying what you're grateful for every day. Another practice that I do along with that is my celebration practice. So every day, usually in the afternoon while I'm walking my dog, to be honest, I will just say out loud to myself, what did I accomplish today? What can I celebrate? And I'll find at least 3 things from my day that I can celebrate. Even if it's just finishing a client session, sending out an email, writing a Facebook post, something I can celebrate, I accomplished, checked it off my list. And then I'll ask myself, how did I do that? How did I get so good that I could do that? And I'll tell myself how fantastic I am. I'll be like, well, I did that because I have great organizational skills and because I connect with women in my community and because I'm driven and I got up early enough to do my practices and have all this time. I remind myself out loud that I am enough, how great I am. I ground myself in my skills and my strengths, and it grounds me in my purpose. So if that feels good to you, go ahead and borrow it. I'll do a live video on my page about this celebration practice because I think there's something to it, but it's a really great tool. Another thing I do is in the beginning especially, Celia always taught me, look, in the beginning, your profits might not always come in the form of money. You know, your profits might come in a thank you note or a like on your Facebook page or a follow on your Instagram. And I took that to heart. So I created a jar, I actually have it right over here, and it's full of little things that are little scrolls of paper rolled up. And it says, signed a new client today, you know, January 1st. It says, made it to 100 Instagram followers. Oh my God, I can't believe that many people want to follow me. Every little milestone, every thank you note I print out, it's in that jar. And when I feel like maybe I can't do it, maybe I should go get a 9-to-5 job, I look at that jar and I'm like, no, I can do this. I'm enough. And here is a jar full of proof that I am good enough and I am good enough to do this work.
It's so good, Samantha. I love that. I'm going to meet you, but just to say, it made me think of, I was just listening to a Super Soul Sunday interview with Oprah and Lynn Twist, who is the author of The Soul of Money. And she was saying, what you appreciate appreciates. And so, you know, what you focus on expands. What you think about all day long is what you manifest. And so it's really important that you do have that daily gratitude practice and awareness of what you're doing well in your life. I love that. I've been doing that daily inventory for myself as well. And then I do also look at like, okay, where did I blow it? Where, you know, like what could I do better? What could I do differently? And I think I've mentioned on previous trainings, a lot of time for me, that ends up being more in my personal space, where I'm like, oh, you know, I was really impatient with my kids. You know, I tend to get really impatient right at the end of the day at bedtime. You know, I'm just like, I just need to get to bed. Can you guys get your ass in bed? Like, what? I'm not saying that to them, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. And so often, but even now, because I've been doing that daily practice of like, how did I blow it today, or what could I do differently? In addition to what I did that was awesome, Now when I'm in the moment, I'm like, that's going to be on your end of the day evaluation. Like, I'm like, you better get it together, girl. You're already slipping. Come on. So it's good. It's part of what I talk about in the reprogramming your mind, and how for every negative thought, you have to replace it with a positive thought, because we are going to have the negative thoughts because we've been programmed with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They've been in there. Our mind is processing them. That's what they know. Like, that's what our mind knows. That's the truth that our mind knows. This whole new mindset that we're trying to replace it with is brand new. It's a baby. These are baby thoughts. They haven't had, 20 years of growing and strengthening and being repeated and replaced. And that's why these daily practices are so important, because otherwise, trust me, if you're watching this live, you're watching it later, trust me on this. If you do not take care of yourself, if you do not daily have rituals, if you do not daily practice self-care, if you do not daily check in on where you're at and what's going well and what's not going well, and be awake and in your life, you're not going to make it. I mean, you're just not going to make it. And what you see a lot is people who made it financially, success-wise, but their personal lives are falling apart, or they end up with a chronic illness. And so much with women, we end up with these chronic illnesses because we have totally put ourselves last on the list, taking care of everybody else in our lives, taken on and just said yes to everybody, said, I'm a superwoman. And, a lot of, in particular, different cultures, have a lot of pride in being so strong, right? And just like, I can do it. I can do more and more and more. And it's only me and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, what happens is we're 35, 45, 50 very young women going, I have diabetes, I have ovarian cancer, or I have infertility, or, all of these things that often get trapped. The emotion that gets backed up and trapped in our feminine organs, and in our stomach, and in our hips, and in our uterus, and all of these spaces. And so it's so important that what we're talking about, you don't take lightly, you take seriously, and really start to apply to your daily life. I'm going to come to Selena, and I'm going to come to Stella. And I just want to mention some of the questions or comments in the chat have been, can we also talk a little bit about, I'm just actually wanting to go back to that, about what Teresa said. I think she was saying she wanted to know if we could give some examples of, like advice for somebody who's in their first year just starting off. And I think we're talking about that, but just wanting to know, is there any like key lessons, any, key mistakes, things like that. Another comment was, how do we find the courage to fully step into our power, like to be our biggest version of ourselves, which is part of what I've been talking and I always talk about. But if any of that resonates with you, Selena or Stella, definitely touch upon that. Otherwise, let's just talk about sort of what your mindset work is about, how you manage all the stuff that's coming up for you. And I know in your position, I would love for you to talk, Selena, a little bit about your home life and like what you've been dealing with Dominic, so that people can understand that, because everybody has a different situation, right? And we need to keep that real too. Okay, you're up.
Okay, so I have been working probably about 11 years in depleted mode, as a mom, as a 9-to-5 worker, and I didn't have any self-care practices or even the time to think about doing self-care. I was just like, what is that self-care? Isn't that just going to the nail shop maybe once a month and getting maybe 5-10 minutes of somebody not talking to me? Every morning is a fight for me with Dominic. He is severely autistic. For those who I haven't got to meet or talk about, Dominic is severely autistic with intellectual disability. So he is about a 2-year-old in an 11-year-old body, and he's got a big body. So with him, he's aggressive, he's angry, he's frustrated, we can't get an idea of what to do for his behavior. And so I'm always depleted. I was working, trying to figure out how to take care of home, how to be able to take care of him and manage him with little to no support. Both my moms passed away when he was a young baby. He was about 6 months when my mom passed away, and about a year and a few months when my mother-in-law passed away, who was living with us and helping. And so those two women were the women who got it. Like, they knew I didn't really understand what was going on with him. They knew that I had thoughts of him being autistic or a challenge. And so when they passed away, like, everything stopped for me. I didn't have anybody to say anything to. So those are the shadow things that I work with, are being depleted. And even now, my depletion has lifted because I don't have to go to work. But I'm at home working still with him. So that, just shifting that has helped me. I'm not angry. I'm not helping people anymore, because at the end of my tenure, I guess, at work, I was like, okay, I'm done with you guys. Like, let me give you the information, let me be out. You know, I'm not dealing with your extra conversation about what's going on with your client and your provider. And, you know, I work for in-home support services. So I was helping people like I needed help. I was helping other people, and I was in the same situation, but nobody knew it. So I was like over it. I'm like, I can't hang with y'all. And so that didn't make me feel good, because the whole time in my career, I had always wanted to be able to help somebody. And by the last 7-9 months of working there, I was like, fuck y'all, I'm done. And sorry if I cuss, but I was like, fuck this. I can't. Nobody's helping me, so I can't really help anybody else. So that was, you know, where I was at when I stopped working for the county. And let's see, as far as mindset, I'm edgy. And this kind of thing is edgy for me. So to be able to meet the edge and be able to dip my toe over that edge, this is where I'm at. So I'm happy to be edgy. I'm happy to be on Facebook Live. You know, I struggle with those videos and that kind of thing. So, but this is encouraging to me. I actually like it. So that's where I'm at as far as mindset. As far as in the business, what do I want to do? I kind of like this. I want to talk to people on Facebook. I want a connection.
Maybe this will be a new series. We'll come and
Yeah.
do live trainings and
Right. I think I kind of like it. Connection is one of the main things for me, is being connected and connecting to people. It's hard for me in person a lot of times to meet with people. But I do feel what I need to do as part of my business is to connect with people, especially if I'm working with special needs mom. They're just like me. They don't have time to come to me in person. So I think meeting online, on the phone, building community is actually the phase that I'm in, is building a community, finding women who are caregivers. And, you know, as moms, we all are caregivers. We all have special needs kids. Whether they're typical or not typical, they're still special, very special.
they are.
Mine is really extremely special. And it's not just him, it's his brother, his sister, who's an adult, it's my grandchild. So, you know, I think for me, it's just being there for moms in general, and learning how to be take care of myself as a mom is, and that's what I am. I'm going to be working right alongside with other women who need it, because hey honey, I'm right there with you. I'm learning too, so we're going to learn together.
step by step. I think, and I just muted you, Selena, but I think you're a great example of what I always talk about is you just need to be one step ahead of the person that you're going to serve. So a lot of times when you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or you're a new entrepreneur, you have that imposter syndrome of feeling like, who am I to like start a business? Like, who wants to work with me? Or like, how can I help somebody when like my life is not together? And of course, if your life is like full on falling apart and you're in the midst of a crisis, that is not the time for you to be like, and now I'm going to start a business or now I'm going to help somebody. But 6 months, a year later, when you've gone through what you're going through and you've learned some lessons along the way, and you've also learned some tools and tips and resources from your own life experience, now you can turn around and talk to the person who's in the middle of that crisis and say, sister friend, I can help you. I've been there. I know what you're going through, and let me help your journey be smoother than mine was, because I didn't have the support that I needed. I didn't have the resources that I needed, but now I do. And so whether you're watching this live or you're watching it later, if you have if you're a special needs parent or mom, or a mom that is a caregiver, or a mom that's feeling overwhelmed or anything like that, please reach out to Selena Davis. She also has an amazing group, the Solum Circle, and a bunch of other resources and programs and stuff coming up. And so she would be sort of our beacon of light, often in the darkness, as a mama who's been through it, knows what you're going through, and wants to help you with it. It's very exciting and important work. Okay, I'm going to hop over to Stella, and then I'm going to have one last sort of speed round question, and then we're going to wrap up the interview for today. Although this is really fun, I'm excited. We should do this more often. Okay, coming to you, Stella. Any thoughts about mindset or tips, tools, lessons for just getting started or growing your business?
Yeah, so for me, I wrote down a couple of keynotes. So I said some of the things that came up for me was, am I worthy? And I have to have a lot of self-talk and saying, yeah, I'm worthy. I could do this. I got this. And then always trying to find a positive, because you may have sometimes naysayers in your inner circle, but you always know that you can. You have people that do support you, and those are your go-to people. And then finding the balance between home, making sure home is taken care of, because you may have a partner or spouse or children that need your attention. So always making sure you schedule time in for them and making sure you're present. And when you show up, you're fully present for them and not like halfway, like, oh yeah, I'm here, but like I'm checking my phone, I'm Facebooking, but just really be completely present for them. And then also honoring my quiet time. I choose what and who I give my time to. So I'm very selective of what I do. And although I do show up for people, when I show up, like even if it's sometimes for an hour or 2 hours, like I'm showing up. And so like, I try to make sure that I'm present for them while I'm there.
Stella, this is great advice, and I'm wondering if you could speak to the side of it that's more the challenge or the darkness or the issue that you were facing, because those are like the lessons you learned and the tips that have helped you now. But I feel like on the backside of that was like you struggled with some of those things. So can you just briefly just speak to what's the sort of opposite of that? Like, spend lots of time and be present with your kids and family, but or your friends, you know what I mean? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. So the not so nice parts is like there is a lot of like sometimes not so happy times at home, because your partner or your husband or your children may not see you, or you may be there physically, and so it causes like a rift sometimes within your household, because you're showing up for one, but then family is sometimes not a priority. Although in your heart you think you are being priority, it's not always. And so, I don't always have the support that I need or that I would like, but I have to often go to my, like I said, my key people, and then I often overcommit. So like yesterday's your Rise Up segment was like spoke volumes to me, because it's like making sure I have the time management, because although I show up, it's like giving 2 hours is sometimes not enough for some people. Sometimes people want more time, and that's not fair to those people. So like really trying to like really, you know, prioritize, and like kind of like the metaphor you used yesterday, as far as like having the jar and having that big rock and the little rock, and like, you can't give from an empty cup. And it's like you have to get from your overflow. And so I constantly have to work through that and be very, very aware and very present of what I'm doing and how I'm spreading my time and how I'm spending my time, so that way I don't spend myself too thin and that I don't like burn out, because sometimes I can take in so much energy that it depletes and where I have nothing. And I just will lock myself in the bathroom and just like give me like 30 minutes to just like regroup and gather my thoughts. And so that may, for like my household, that doesn't always sit well, because my husband may think that I'm being, I'm disconnecting from him. And I'm like, no, I need to disconnect from the world so that way I can be present for you as well as my son.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. And I'm going to leave you unmuted because I'm going to do this last little speed round and then we'll wrap up the training, or we'll come back to you, Stella, or you can, because I noticed you muted. But before I ask you this question, let me go ahead and mute you, or you mute yourself. I was just going to say, I think that what you're bringing up is a really great point, because if you are a mom, or if you do have, family demands or friend demands, a lot of time you feel like guilty because you feel so passionate and excited about your projects and your work and the things that you're creating in the world. And for me, I've really had to remind myself that I have I was going to say two different things, that I have every right to spend a lot of time on my work. That no, I didn't, like I say to my husband all the time, like, I did not sign on the dotted line and say I was doing all these things that you think I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I signed up for a partnership. I signed up for two people trying to live their best life and support each other along the way. Not for me to be overextended and be taking on every single thing so that you can feel good about your life. Like, that doesn't work for me. And same thing in my relationships with my family and my friends. Like, it has to be, like a reciprocal relationship, right? Like, it has to be give and take. I don't have endless amounts of energy and resources to give and deplete myself. If you're going to be in relationship with me, you need to be filling my tank up too, so that then I'm filled up, then I can give it back to you and we can share that energy going back and forth. But as women, I think we often feel so guilty. Let me know in the comments or send me a follow-up message and let me know, does that resonate with you? Do you feel sometimes that guilt of when you do find something you're passionate about and you do find something that you would want to stay up all night, and almost a little addictive, right? Of like, sometimes when you get so excited about your work, it can feel like an addiction. And so I think what Stella is saying is helpful, which is, yes, have boundaries and say, I'm stepping aside because I'm going to do my work. And like I say to my kids all the time, like, I am in my office, the door is closed, and therefore you are not coming in. This is my workplace. I'm here to work. But at the same time, I will have certain hours where I'm like, and now it's time to be with my kids. And therefore I need to close my computer. I need to put my phone in the other room. When I start feeling the little jonesing, to check my Facebook or check my email, I have to remind myself, like, even today in the car taking Ava, my daughter, to school, she sits in the front seat now next to me, and it's just the two of us, and we have this really nice morning drive to take her to school, and I really cherish the time that we're having in this commute. But I found myself, having brilliant ideas and stuff coming in while I'm driving with her, and most of the time I'll be telling her, can you write this down in my notes, or can you text so-and-so or whatever. But I found myself at like these super long stoplights and stuff, taking my phone and like looking at, I don't know what I was looking at, emails or my notes or whatever. And I just had this voice in my head that was like, put your phone down. Like, what, like, you're setting a certain expectation and example right now for your daughter. And like, how would you feel if she said, every time I'm with mom's always on her phone? Like, you would be pissed, right? You'd be bummed about that. You would feel like you had totally blown it with her. And so whether you're always on your phone or you're sometimes on your phone, kids have that perception of like you're unavailable. And so I try to really push myself when I'm with my kids to have those moments be non-technology times. And then for the times that I am doing my work, to be shameless with them about it. Like, I am working. And sometimes, like, because I take my kids to school in the morning, I pick them up after my day is relatively short as an entrepreneur. And a lot of time, and I have a babysitter and I get help. So there's someone here in the house once I get home, but I'll go back into my office to try to work from like 3:30 to 5:30. And they'll just keep coming in the entire time. Mom this, mom that, mom this. And sometimes I have to tell them, I'm like, most moms and dads work till 5:30, 6:00 every day. And then they pick you up and then you drive in a commute and then you get home and it's 7, 8:00 sometimes. You know, you have such a privileged life. You have me available, but when I am working, you need to respect my space. And it's that constant, you know, setting the boundaries, setting the expectations, allowing yourself to say, you know, I love what I do, and I need the time and space to be able to do it. And I need for you to not to try to make me feel bad about the fact that I want to work. Like, you know, that's the whole point, is to find something that you're passionate about and to be able to do that work in your life. And so I just want to encourage anybody who's listening in that maybe is feeling like, you know, the family doesn't get it, the husband doesn't get it, the sisters don't get it. One last thing on that, just because it popped in, and then I'm going to do this real quick closing segment, which is I also try to get my family to get buy into my work. And so I share with them what I'm working on. You know, I'll share with them, oh, I'm doing the Rise Up training, which means for the next 2 weeks, every single day, I'm going to be doing a training every day for an hour, which means I'm actually going to be really tired because it requires me to prepare. It requires me to be focused. It requires me to be engaged. So even when I pick you up, even though I'm not doing a training at that time, I'm actually going to have had a really long day for myself, and I'm going to need you to be more supportive of me. I might need to be taking more naps. I might need more time for me to go on walks on my own. And I need you to be patient with me on that, because it's for a limited period of time. But then when it's done, I'm going to be back to normal. You're going to get the mom you want. And so having those kind of conversations ahead of time and getting them to sort of buy in, because then when they come in, they give me a hard time, I can say, I already told you about this. Like, I already told you what was going on in my life right now. So you need to back the F up. Not to my kids, to my husband, I'll say that. Like, you need to like back up off me. Okay. Go be the wife while I get to be the husband, and I'll come to dinner when it's ready. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So this is so good. Obviously, we got to keep doing this. This is exciting for me that we'll do this again very soon. And if you're watching live, give us some hearts and thumbs up and comments, and let us know that you're enjoying it. Any ahas that you had. If you're watching this later, or maybe on YouTube later, or in an email broadcast later in the future, send me a reply. Let me know what you loved about it. Send me a Facebook message. Let us know in some way or form that something we said resonated with you. Okay. So the last thing I want to say, and I'm going to give you guys each 1 minute to reply to this. I know you have so many amazing things you want to say, but because people are going to watch this video at all different times ongoing in the future, and I'd love for you to talk about if they're considering becoming part of our insider community, whether it's joining the Superfly program or becoming a certified coach with us, or joining one of the masterminds, or going on a retreat, or whatever it is that they're debating with and they're seeing this video. Can you share why you feel like this is the place to be, and that working with us and being a part of our community and being in these programs are the right choice for them? Because there's so many choices out there, and there's amazing people doing amazing work. But I believe that you are meant to be with the people you're meant to be with, and when you find them, you will know. And so I'm assuming that people will already know that they're meant to be with me and meant to be with us. But if they're still on the fence and sort of like, this is amazing, but I don't know, I could do this, I could do that, what would you say, like, to you that feels like the deal breaker, like you got to do it because of this, or it's a game changer because of this? And not necessarily about a certain program, but just in general about, because ultimately, no matter what you join, whether you get in any, you know, Superfly or whatever you decide to step into, you basically now get into this lifetime ongoing community with all of these amazing women, all the women you're seeing here. And we got about 200 of us that are super active, and we hang out ongoing all the time. And whatever we're doing, whatever is available, we're working together, we're supporting each other. We're each other's clients. You know, it's like all this amazing stuff is happening. And it's not like you sign up for a program and then it's over and it's like, okay, see you later. It's like, oh, great, now you're with us. Okay, so now what are we going to do next? And what are we going to do next? And what are we going to do next? So can you guys just, I know it's hard in 1 minute to say all the amazing things you want to say, but let's see what you can come up with. I'm going to you, Keandra.
I guess the biggest thing is really the community. I know when I was getting started and started feeling that like tug to like get certified and get, to research the different programs, I didn't really feel that I fit in. And while I have, have this polished persona or whatever, or, way that people thought about me, I'm really not. Like you see, I'm in this head wrap, these big hoops, so this is just a part of just the way that I just kind of roll, not just the pencil skirts, whatever. And so those other types of things didn't really speak to me. And so I really don't know of any other program that has the diversity, the level of activism, the community, the just the realness of really being able to blend in a real holistic way, the strategic, but also the spiritual and the soulful. And it's not about religion. It's not about having a specific faith, but really just being like who you are in your soul and representing that. I don't know of any other community that has that. And it's the community that is not only giving me the support of stepping out to do what I'm doing, but actually getting the tangible tools. So that, yeah, it truly is. I don't know of any other place where you can get all of that. That really is just the honest truth. And so, I came in a very different way. And so I'm here.
Stay. I muted you, but you're here to stay. And I think it's beautiful. And like I said, all of the ladies that you see now and that you see are a part of our programs, whether they're TAs or whether they're experts or whether they're alumni, those are real people who are still a part of the community and are all connected. We have accountability groups. We have one-on-one partners, working together. We have, like I said, people sharing their services, that whenever we're looking for something, we always try to go back to within the community. Is there someone here that either wants to learn how to do this or already does do this, so that we can put our dollars back into our community? And that's where the collective aspect of it comes from, of we want to circulate our dollars and create that sacred commerce within our existing community instead of just finding some random person online. Okay, going to you, Samantha.
Okay. I could never in a minute explain what this community means to me. But I've been watching the Rise Up training, and Celia has said many a time that once you join this community, you have a mentor for life. And that is the most true statement, and doesn't even scratch the surface of what Celia can be for you and what it means to me. I met Celia in 2016, and I call it the year of Celia because it totally changed my life. And every video she would send out, I would just shoot her an email back and be like, how did you read my mind? How did you know what was in there? She connected me to my future and to my purpose. And then to these amazing women. I left Superfly the first time. I was like, I have friends. I have friends all over the country, all over the world that get me. And now when people ask me, oh, I'm looking for a coach who does this, I'm looking for a coach who does that, I'm like, don't worry, I got you. I got a whole community of women I can now tap into to help, to collaborate, to hold space for me. There's no comparison to the Superfly community. Whatever program you do, and I signed up with like 24 hours left with Celia. I just had this gut feeling. Her program was closing the next day. My big sister sent me an email. She's like, I think you'll like this. And I saw Celia, I read like 4 sentences and I was like, whatever, I'm in. Like my gut was telling me, go for it. So listen to your gut. Get out of your head. Listen to your gut. If you feel the pull to this community, you know it. And once you're in, you're in.
That's right. And we're always like, come on, Samantha. I'm going to meet you, but you got to, like, because the 4 of us live in Los Angeles. And so we have a very strong Los Angeles contingent. We also have a very strong Atlanta group. And so this year, twice in the last year, I've been out in Atlanta with our local sisters in Atlanta, and Samantha lives outside of Atlanta. But in LA, we're always like, come on, Samantha, like, when are you going to come? We need you to come down here. So we're still waiting for Samantha to make it down. But I think this is going to be the year where she comes and we get to all be together in person down here. Okay, coming to you, Selena, and then Stella, and then we are wrapping it up. And if there's any other comments, questions, let us know in the chat. If you're watching this at a later hour, contact us directly and let us know what's coming up for you. All right.
So the 3 words that come to me are love, lots of love, sacred commerce, and expansion, and just having a community that is there for you. They're in the background, they're in front of your face, they're just there. So for me, I didn't have support, or I thought I didn't have support. So I had to figure that out. Do I have support, or do I just think I don't have support? And and just everything that I'm a part of, I've been a part of the community for several years. I believe I started in 2012. I don't know, Celia, I think you would probably know. It was in 2012 because I think I had just graduated with my BA. And then I ran into Celia through Stella, and just that's it. This is I've been in, I'm not going anywhere. I'm never going to go anywhere. And I'm just waiting for that, what did you say, million people? That always sticks to me. Every time I think about you, that's the very first thing I heard you say is, I want to touch 1 million women's life, and we will. Through me, I'll probably touch thousands. And it just, whoever we touch, if you said the community is 200, then just times that by 10. So I think we're almost 1 million, right? Some type of way.
You're creative with your math. Yeah. And I always talk about my mission is to empower women to step into their greatness, and find their purpose, and to live a life of contribution and give back to society. And so we are doing it. And if this is an example of this interview, this conversation, there's not an ulterior motive. The only motive is to uplift and activate and inspire and empower. And I already know that we did that, and I know that we did that for ourselves. So at the end of the day, that's an example of when you're doing stuff you love and it feels good, it's good for you. It's good for you, in addition to maybe one other person, or all of us together. Maybe we touched 5 more people. Okay, so 10 of us today got our hearts wide open and felt really good about ourselves. And then from there, we're going to step out and touch one more person and one more person. And it just begins that ripple effect. Okay, coming to you, Stella, and then we're going to wrap it up. Hi.
Sure. Hi. So I basically was saying that it's 100% coach. Are you getting feedback?
Nope, you're good. 100% coach.
Okay. All right. So you're 100% coach. You're completely transparent. You're approachable. You have complete access to the network. It's organic, real people, real lives, lifelong friends worldwide. What you see is what you get. And so signing up is basically like it's going to be what you need and what will help change your life. Your people who are close to you will see a change. The people who don't know you will see a change, and you'll leave a lasting impression.
Thank you, Stella. I like your lists today. They're very effective. Thank you. I'm with you too. All right. Well, this ends our training for today, our interview series for today, talking to these amazing, soulful, spiritual female leaders and entrepreneurs and coaches. And we hope that for all that are watching, whether it's live or later, that we've been able to enter into your heart, and that you feel all the more loved, valued, honored, seen, recognized, and that you're ready to step up and rise up and take action and move forward towards awakening yourself to your connection to your divine power and the power around you, stepping into your voice, finding your purpose, creating purpose-driven work in the world, making a contribution, getting involved in your community, and really creating that lasting legacy so that your life matters whether you do anything or not, but so that you feel like your life matters, so that you feel like you really lived your purpose and potential on this planet when your day is done. And we hope that we have just been a part of what's going to make that happen for you today. So we're sending you so much love and blessings. And for all of you sisters, I'm so honored. I just continue to be so grateful, so overwhelmed with love for the opportunity to be in community and connection with you guys, and to continue to find ways to bring you out into the world and let people see how magical you are in your own right. This is truly a sisterhood. It's not a hierarchy. This is meant to be an egalitarian community where everybody gets a chance to rise, everybody gets a chance to be seen, everybody gets a chance to lead, and we're all in our fullest power and creating opportunities for each other. So such a blessing. Love you all. I am going to close down our interview now and see what happens on the other side. And I will talk to you all soon. Love and blessings. Take care. Bye.